These past few days, many of you have probably watched my videos about the GVE London scandal. How frustrated customers lined up demanding their cars back, how deals were allegedly twisted behind closed doors, who George really was, and what role David Rye played in the company's rise and fall. But today, I want to take you deeper, beyond the showrooms and the angry voices, into the financial web that truly brought GVE down. Because the collapse of GVE wasn't just about a few unhappy customers or shady contracts. At its core, this was a business built on unstable financial ground. Beneath the polished glass walls and the glitter of Lamborghinis and Ferraris, there was a money trail full of risks, shortcuts, and fragile credit lines. And once the flow of cash began to crack, everything came tumbling down at a shocking pace. So let's peel back that glossy surface and uncover the financial story no one talks about. The hidden mechanisms, the consignment traps, and the costly image of luxury that drained GVE from the inside out. And all of that you're about to discover here on Brand Guy. Long before the headlines and lawsuits, GVE London began with a simple promise: to bring the world of exotic supercars closer to buyers in the UK who wanted both prestige and convenience. In its earliest years, GVE positioned itself as more than just a dealership. It marketed itself as a hub, a one-stop destination where collectors, enthusiasts, and wealthy clients could find everything from a Lamborghini Aventador to a rare Porsche GT3, all under one polished roof. The company invested heavily in image: a glass-fronted showroom in West London, spotless floors reflecting rows of hypercars, and staff trained to speak the language of aspiration. For customers, walking into GVE felt less like entering a dealership and more like stepping into a luxury lifestyle experience. That atmosphere alone built credibility, and in the world of supercars, credibility is currency. In those early days, growth seemed natural. Cars moved quickly, photos of GVE's showrooms spread across social media, and the brand earned praise for making the once intimidating process of buying a supercar feel accessible. At a glance, it looked like a success story in the making, a young company carving its place among established names. But behind that shine, the seeds of risk were already being planted. GVE wasn't just selling cars outright. It was leaning on a business model that looked efficient on paper, but carried hidden dangers that most customers never questioned. That model would later become the foundation of both its rapid rise and its devastating collapse. As GVE's reputation grew, so did its appetite for expansion. The company embraced a model that seemed like a win-win for everyone: consignment sales. Instead of purchasing every car outright, GVE invited owners to place their Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and McLarens in the showroom while the dealership handled the marketing and the sale. Once a buyer was found, GVE would take a cut and return the balance to the car's owner. On paper, it was brilliant: less capital tied up, more cars on display, and a constantly rotating inventory that gave customers the impression of unstoppable momentum. The showroom soon became a rotating gallery of exotic machines, each more eye-catching than the last. From Bugattis to Aston Martins, the space transformed into a luxury car museum where nearly everything was for sale. Social media amplified the illusion of success. Photos of gleaming supercars lined up in pristine rows, videos showcasing the dream garage atmosphere, and customer testimonials that painted GVE as a trusted name in London's elite automotive scene. But behind that shine, the seeds of risk were already being planted. GVE wasn't just selling cars outright. It was leaning on a business model that looked efficient on paper, but carried hidden dangers that most customers never questioned. That model would later become the foundation of both its rapid rise and its devastating collapse. The downfall of GVE London wasn't sudden. It was the result of structural flaws hidden beneath the glossy surface of a booming dealership. When examined closely, at least four main factors emerge, each intertwining to create the financial storm that eventually consumed the company. The first was the illusion of ownership. Most of the cars displayed inside GVE's impressive showroom were not actually owned by the company. They belonged to clients who had entrusted their vehicles under consignment agreements. While this arrangement gave GVE the ability to showcase millions of pounds worth of exotic cars, it also meant that the company was operating on borrowed prestige. These cars were liabilities disguised as assets, and every unsold vehicle represented money owed to someone else. The second factor was reliance on fragile credit. To sustain daily operations, from the rent on a West London showroom to high-end marketing campaigns, GVE often turned to short-term loans, private lenders, and even informal credit lines. This kept the cash flow alive, but made the business dangerously dependent on the timely sale of cars. Any slowdown in sales, any delay in customer payments would create a ripple effect that left the company scrambling to cover its costs. The third factor was the burden of appearances. In the luxury car business, image is everything. For GVE, maintaining spotless floors, bright lights, and a constant rotation of the rarest machines wasn't optional, it was survival. But appearances came with a price tag. High operating costs drained cash reserves faster than deals could close. Staff wages, marketing budgets, and event sponsorships all piled onto a company already stretched thin. And finally, there was the issue of transparency. Customers began to report troubling experiences. Cars sold without clear communication, payments delayed for months, and excuses that grew thinner with time. Some owners claimed their vehicles were sold, but the money never arrived. Others alleged that GVE withheld cars or demanded additional fees. Each dispute chipped away at the fragile trust holding the business together. These four elements combined to form a house of cards. Consignment sales inflated the image of success, credit lines propped up the day-to-day operations, luxury appearances burned through cash, and a lack of transparency alienated the very clients keeping the system afloat. The moment sales slowed or lenders tightened their grip, there was nothing left to stop the collapse. GVE had built its empire on shifting sand, and when the tide turned, the entire structure gave way. When the walls finally came down, the collapse of GVE London was both swift and messy. The only pristine showroom, once filled with multi-million-pound machines, now stood as a shell of its former self. Cars were repossessed, others were claimed by furious owners who demanded them back, and legal battles erupted over vehicles that had already been sold but never properly accounted for. What had looked like an empire of trust turned into a battlefield of lawsuits and shattered relationships. Customers who had consigned their cars waited in vain for payments that never came. Some turned to courts, others to the media, hoping to recover even a fraction of what they had lost. Banks and private lenders circled like vultures, each seeking to recover debts from a company that had no cash left to give. For many clients, their dream of making money through supercar consignments ended in financial and emotional devastation. Today, GVE London is remembered less as a dealership and more as a cautionary tale. The brand's name, once linked to aspiration and exclusivity, has become synonymous with scandal and betrayal. Instead of admiring the showroom's glamour, people now point to it as a lesson in what happens when financial illusions outpace reality. And for those who were caught in the fallout, the story of GVE isn't just history, it's an ongoing battle to reclaim what was lost. The story of GVE London isn't just about the collapse of a single dealership. It is a reminder of how fragile success can be when it rests on illusions rather than solid foundations. At its height, GVE seemed unstoppable, a glittering hub where supercars flowed in and out like trophies in motion. But behind the shine lay a business model stretched too thin, powered by borrowed assets, costly appearances, and the dangerous assumption that cash would always keep flowing. For customers, the lesson is clear. In industries built on luxury and prestige, transparency matters more than image. A showroom can dazzle with Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but what truly protects buyers and sellers is the integrity of contracts, the clarity of ownership, and the honesty of financial dealings. Without these safeguards, even the most glamorous businesses can unravel overnight. And for those watching from the outside, GVE serves as a case study in caution. It shows how easy it is for ambition to morph into overreach and for success stories to become scandals. The glitter fades, the debts remain, and reputations rarely recover. So I'll leave you with this question. If you owned a car worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, would you ever consign it to a dealership like GVE, knowing what you know now?